this very special episode of Tea Time with me, Chaiti Narula. On this very special episode, we're going to be discussing the world of exemplary whiskey over a game of exciting golf with my special guest who's flown down straight from Scotland. On the show this week, we have Ian Millar, the Global Brand Ambassador for Glenfiddich.
We have great hopes for growth within the brand. Not just on volume, but absolutely on value.
In news, Rory McIlroy and Tiger Woods lose opening matches in 8-player World Golf Finals. KJ Choi wins Asian Tour event. Hi Ian.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And welcome to India as well.
Thank you.
The first time here in India?
It's not my first time. No, we've been here a couple of times, but it's my second time in Mumbai.
Right, and you've been playing golf, of course, all over the world, from what I understand.
I try to get as much golf in as possible. I don't always insist it's part of the itinerary, but wherever I think I can, I absolutely impose it on them.
Of course, from what I understand, you play golf 12 times a year, and if you don't meet up to the average of 12 times a year, there's something, of course, which is missing in life as far as you're concerned, isn't it?
For me, getting the balance of life and also social activity is around about 20 games of golf. If I can get 20 or 20 plus, then I know I've got the balance of life just about right. If I've got a lot less, and I'm behind this year, so I'm looking for more opportunities to play golf. If I get it less, then obviously I've got the balance wrong.
All right, so let's just go walk up to the fairway and discuss business and golf and your corporate strategies going forward. Let's start off now with your India trail. You're here in India, of course, for a purpose. How does food and alcohol play such a significant part in India now, in the new India that we're seeing today?
I think there's a growing appreciation in India and also for visitors to India to enjoy both Indian food but also international cuisine.
Right.
And that involves obviously liquors from the West, wines, whiskies. And for me, malt whiskey has the finesse and the lightness that a wine does, so you can easily match it with food. And what we're doing in the south is we're going to be looking at some international cuisine. I'm also hoping daily that we manage to get some Indian food because I so love Indian food. We were here 2 years ago and we did some work with 3 different hotels in Mumbai and 4 hotels in Delhi, and we had a fabulous time. Whiskey and food, you can't go wrong.
So Glenfiddich and Indian food, is that a good combination?
Glenfiddich is a very light whiskey and the range has different flavours, and they match extremely well with different foods. And we were surprised at, even with some of the hot, spicy Indian food, how well Glenfiddich actually worked with it.
So now William Grant Sons is one of the oldest family-run businesses in Scotland when it comes to single malt. And of course, one of the very few remaining in the family-owned business space. How does that change for you in this day and age?
I think what they've done is a very good job. Although they're family-owned, they have built almost like a public limited company shape under them. And what happens is that the directors within that PLC shape, they work closely with the family. And so that it retains its family identity, but at the same time it's very much a business that has a strategic direction, that has a well laid out strategy for the future, 3 to 5 years, and we're moving forward. The thing that what family brings is one, it brings an identity and a sort of long-term vision for the whiskies itself. But family, because it's very much a family-supported business, so people stay with us longer because we treat them as an extension to the family themselves. So I would hate for us to lose that family identity as a company, because for me that differentiates us away from all of our competitors.
Talking about competition, you know, you're here in India now, and I've realized that Johnnie Walker Black Label is something which has captured the fancy of many Indians here. How does Glenfiddich, a plan to differentiate itself and capture that imagination like the way the other brands have?
Well, Johnny Black and Chivas have globally actually opened many doors for single malt. Single malt is kind of new kid on the block to a certain extent. We started our first export back in 1963 with the first Glenfiddich being launched and exported outside of Scotland.
Right.
And it's grown on the back of markets which have been opened up by companies like Diageo, companies like Chivas. Where we're different is single malt is a different animal. A typical blend will be 30 to 40% malt whisky, 60 to 70% grain whisky. This is 100% single malt. It's a much gentler animal, it's much softer, it's much easier to get into. If you want to come into whisky, the safest avenue, the safest door to come into whisky is through a single malt whisky.
You know, I understand there is an audience here for single malt here as well. And, you know, the alcohol industry obviously is growing at a compounded annual growth rate of about 28% until 2010, 2011. Now, with this kind of a growing economy and, of course, competing price points with the other competitors that you have in India, how do you plan to sell here? Of course, because you are also facing a lot of tax barriers, import barriers, duty, which is making your product a bit more expensive than the ones which are being manufactured in this country.
Again, it's about differentiating. It's about creating a genuine relationship with the consumer. And that's part of why I'm here. So I will be here talking to consumers, talking to the trade, working with hotels, but really creating, hopefully, the starting point of a long-term relationship with people for the brand.
So your purpose of coming into India is something that we will discuss, but let's do a chip shot now.
Okay.
And continue with the game, after which we will talk about why you're in India a lot more in detail.
Try one first.
Perfect. So perfect is something which is your strategy for India as well, and we're discussing earlier about what brings you to India in terms of all these nosing sessions and tasting sessions that you have on the anvil.
Well,
what is it that you have for our country?
Personally, it's just food.
It's just food.
I love India anyway. Clearly, it's very cold in Europe right now. I was in Stockholm this weekend. 9, 10 degrees, very, very cold. Beautiful sunshine like this, but very, very cold. So coming to India is a nice break for me. I love the food. We've never been to the south of India, so I'm very intrigued. We've got 4 cities to visit down there, and I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to see how different they are.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're doing some sort of a trail within these 4 cities with nosing sessions and tasting sessions. How are they like? What are you planning?
Well, it'll be a mixture of training sessions for people who work in food and beverage, but predominantly it's there to create menus with some 5-star hotels where the subtle flavours of a malt whisky can be easily matched with some great food. So it's looking at international menus. I'm hoping I might sneak a few good Indian ones in as well.
Talking about that, let's talk about the customer preferences. Do you see India as a growing market vis-a-vis other geographies where you're marketing this product as well?
Absolutely. We have a lot of light, fruity, citrus, sweet whiskies. And it's a flavour that seems to resonate well with the Indian consumer right now. So we have great hopes for growth within the brand, not just on volume, but absolutely on value.
So when you talk about volume and value, of course, for 125 years, Glenfiddich has been doing that, and you are celebrating 125 years this year with Glenfiddich. So over these 125 years, what is the kind of customer preferences shift in terms of a paradigm shift we've seen?
I think
globally, not just in India.
The biggest shift has absolutely been from blended whisky over to malt, because if you look at the malt whisky market historically was a blended whisky market. Malt whisky has increased from 0 to 9% of all whisky sold. Blended whisky is still king. Blended whisky still accounts for 91% of all whisky sold. So we've got a long way to actually see that shift away from blend up to malt. I don't think it'll ever happen, because a lot of people genuinely love, there's a lot of great blended whiskies out there.
But you know, when you're talking about blended whiskey, you're obviously dealing with the premium international segment, which is selling in India. And in India, of course, you have better price points that you can work with when it comes to a consumer. How do you plan to tackle that? Because obviously with the ban on advertising as well, the incumbents are becoming much more stronger players than the likes of a Glenfiddich.
Well, for me, we've talked about this for years. It's not about advertising, it's about creating a genuine relationship with the consumer. And that's not about coming into a country once or to a city once, it's about coming back and seeing the same people twice, the third time. So they understand that there is a point person for the brand who will continually come back to keep that relationship going.
And compared to the other geographies where you all are selling, how much of interest does your company see in a country like India, which of course is a difficult country when it comes to alcohol?
But remember, this country has more history with whisky than most countries that we export to right now. So you've already got a solid foundation of whisky lovers in this country. It's already got a history. And I think Scotch whisky also has a favourable history here in the Indian market. So it's a nice foundation for us to build on.
That's a fabulous one, Ian. Great shot.
Thank you.
So let's take a quick break right here on Tea Time, and when we come back, we discuss about how golfing strategies make way into Ian's corporate career as well. Is that right?
Perfect. As you grow into golf, because it takes a long time, but all you need is one or two really good golf shots per round to get you back onto the golf course next time round. Okay, this is kind of high.
Welcome back to Tea Time with me, Chaiti Narula, and you're with Ian Millar on this show. And we are, of course, talking about how golfing strategies are making way into his personal life as well. So let's talk about that. You were discussing a little earlier as to how you use golf as a game into your personal life back at work.
Yeah, as you grow into golf, because it takes a long time, but all you need is one or two really good golf shots per round to get you back onto the golf course next time round. But I've learnt also to manage my golf, because things in life and things at golf don't always go well for you. So it's about maintaining a cool head, because it isn't irreparable. You can get onto the next hole and still have a great score. And it's a bit like your competition. So you compete with other golfers, but we also compete with other distillers. And sometimes we're doing well and sometimes they're doing well. It's about keeping a cool head to make sure that you still stay ahead of the game and you don't throw it away. It's about sticking to the strategy. It's about understanding you're not always going to be winning.
Right.
But if you keep a cool head, you'll win more than you'll lose.
So tell me about the corporate social responsibility that William Grant Sons is exuding here in India. Of course, you've got the art residency program running. You're doing so much more for the rural and agricultural development as well. You've raised a couple of pounds for donating that in India as well. Take us through those initiatives.
The Janet Sheed Roberts initiative was 11 bottles.
Right.
Each bottle to celebrate 10 years of her life, because this lady lived until 110 years old. And she was like the matriarch of the company, if you like. So the two main directors, Charles and Sandy Grant Gordon, she was their aunt. And they wanted to do something special to mark her 110th birthday. So we did 11 bottles. And that £35,000 that we got for the bottle here in India went to a charity here in India.
Brilliant. And also there's something like an art residency program that you all are sketching out in India. And that's something I've been hearing for the longest time. What is this art residency program? How does it benefit and empower the artists from rural India?
What we're trying to do is to pull artists from around the world back to Glenfiddich, where they will live on the site of the distillery for 3 months. And we're hoping that they get inspiration from living on site at the distillery. And we don't tell them what to produce. We just say we hope that you feel inspired, and what you create will be embellished hopefully by the stay that you have at the distillery.
Making single malt in Scotland is very important for you all, of course, because of the climate and the temperature and the raw materials which you all are sourcing from within Scotland. What about you come to India and use the raw materials here and the setup over here and start manufacturing single malt here? Will it make a difference in terms of your final end product if you do that?
Yeah, the biggest difference is not in actually making it. One, it would cost you a little more to get the raw materials here.
Right.
Clearly, it rains a lot in Scotland. My guess is you have sufficient rain here to support it as well. But it's growing the malted barley or getting the malted barley here. But the biggest issue is not producing it, it's maturing it. Because when you mature in a hot climate, then you lose so much over a very short period of time. So after about 4 years, you probably find that you had less than 50% left in the cask and that the strength had dropped significantly. So the biggest issue you have with making whiskey in India is that maturation.
Absolutely. And you know, in India, I've noticed that all these alcohol manufacturing companies, they're obviously facing very high working capital requirements. The profit margins that they're working with are not very great. Also, there is so many other factors which are playing spoilsport for them in terms of the regulation. How's the story different for you back home in Scotland?
The tax in Scotland is actually higher in Scotland than it is in most mainland countries in Europe. So people in Scotland will actually find that if they go to Holland or France or Belgium, whiskey is actually cheaper there to buy than it is in Scotland because of the taxation levels.
The taxation,
high taxation
obviously.
levels. Taxation. Tax very much dictates at what price you sell your product in every country. And to a certain degree, it will also dictate how much you actually grow in that country as well. But we've actually found that despite the high taxation we have here in India, whiskey is still flourishing. You said 28.5% this year on imported whiskey. Now the great news for India is that a lot of that was actually bottled in India, so that's bringing jobs to India as well. So the higher that percentage goes, the more jobs that will be born in India out of it. So I think there's a win-win there. One, we're selling more whiskey to India, but two, we're creating more jobs in India as well because it's bottled in India.
Fabulous. Indeed,
Okay.
This is the strongest part of your game, isn't it? And also, what is another strong part about William Grant & Sons is the fact that they still continue to bottle their alcohol back in Scotland. We'll discuss that and much more with my guest today, Ian Millar, on the other side of this break. Stay tuned to Tea Time. With me, Chaiti Narula.
This whiskey is simply the best, much better than all of the rest. So let her, oh, oh.
Fabulous game of golf indeed.
A lovely game of golf, thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Tea Time with me, Chaiti Narula, and I have my special guest on the show today who is Mr. Ian Millar of William Grant & Sons, who's come down all the way from Scotland to do the show with us. Thank you so much once again for doing that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. We were talking a little earlier about bottling and talking about Scotland. How important it is for you to bottle all your alcohol back there in Scotland?
Well, we obviously do malt whiskey and we do blended whiskey as well, our Grant's blended. Malt whiskey legally now must be bottled in Scotland, and it was there to protect ongoing jobs in Scotland. Blended whiskey is different. 15% of all blended whiskey, and that is a significant amount around the world, is blended or bottled in different countries around the world. If we try to take that back from many sensitive countries, that would create a lot of bad PR issues. So a lot of whiskey is still bottled 8 different countries. Indeed, a lot of whiskey is actually bottled here in India.
Right. Now, Diageo is obviously tying up with United Breweries as well, and they are likely to make a foray into India really soon with a couple of their brands. Any plans like this on the anvil as far as William Grant & Sons is concerned?
We have a William Grant & Sons office here in India, and at the moment there are no plans to tie in with anyone else. I think we've always said we've been a bit of a lone wolf. It's a family-owned company, and we like to maintain it that way. It doesn't mean that we will never partner with other companies in the future, never say never. But at this point in time, our strategy is not looking to partner up.
So being a family-owned company, of course, makes a difference in terms of taking decisions as such, isn't it?
Being a family-owned company means that we can actually make decisions sometimes a little quicker.
Quicker than the others?
I think William Grant's is a pretty dynamic company. If you look at the 15-year-old that we have, which is one of the most successful single malts in the world right now, it was created out of an idea and put onto the liquor shop shelf within something like 9 months. That's dynamic. That's quick decisions. That's involving just a few people in the decision-making process and just getting things done.
Dynamic and quick decisions lead me to another question that I've got for you is, out of your entire portfolio of 6, obviously 4 have made their presence in India. The other 2, when are they finding their passage into this country?
I think pretty much in the next year to 18 months, you will see Sailor Jerry and Tullamore Dew appearing in the Indian market. Tullamore Dew is the number 2 global Irish whiskey, and we have great plans for it. We're building a new distillery in Ireland to support the ongoing production. And Sailor Jerry is absolutely flying off the shelves in places like the US and also in parts of Europe and in Latin America.
The incumbents definitely need to stay scared at this point of time with you talking and making all these plans.
Well, you know, we're growing very quickly. If I look at the growth we've had in the last 10, 12 years since I joined this company, it's been huge. But it's been managed well. We've still got that small family company feel, and long may that continue.
Okay, now on a very lighter note, I want you to take me through not the adventures, but the misadventures of your nosing and tasting sessions that you've been conducting here in India year on year.
I think the fun part is when you get right into it, and you obviously have to take your cue from the audience. Right. If the audience look like they are up for a bit of fun, then you can have a bit of fun with the audience. So we made up a little song around the 15-year-old, which we generally sing when we're creating the 50. Well, when we're 7 to 15. So people don't get to drink the 15 until they've sung the song with me.
So sing the song. I'm happy to sing it with you.
Oh, you're happy to sing the song?
Yeah, why not?
I can sing the song without alcohol. So it's based on the song Volare. I'm sure you've all heard the song Volare. So the song goes like this: Solera, oh, none better. Oh, this whiskey is simply the best, much better than all of the rest. Solera, oh, none better. Oh. And once they've sung the song, they can have the whiskey.
On that note, let's wind up the show. That is Ian Millar, all the way from Scotland, of William Grant & Sons, with me, Chaiti Narula, on Tea Time. I will see you next weekend again.